Corne from Unlimited Tech Solutions here. Have you ever set up Salesforce to HubSpot sync for a client and then ended up with a whole bunch of invalid contact owners? I'm not sure if you've seen this before, but we'll have a contact owner and the name is suffixed in parentheses with Salesforce. Let me show an example of that. So here we have a screenshot of a client's contacts, and what we see here is the contact owner is currently assigned to a person, but that person's name is suffixed with Salesforce. Furthermore, if we click the drop down for contact owners, we're seeing that there is a whole bunch of Salesforce suffixed users that are in here. Now, the reason that this is happening is because there is a mismatch between your Salesforce and your HubSpot users. The integration uses a combination of first name, last name, and email address to determine whether an owner is a match or not, or whether an owner exists or not, for lack of a better term. Salesforce is able to send any owner across to HubSpot. So whether there is a matched user in HubSpot or not, it is able to send that information across. On the HubSpot side though, HubSpot is only able to send records to Salesforce where an exact match exists. It's important that we create exact matches in this information where there should be exact matches. If you have ended up in the situation where those users have already been synced and there is a mismatch between them and you're ending up with the Salesforce suffix on a whole bunch of users, the way that you can locate those users and then begin the process of correcting them in both places is by using the HubSpot.developers.com page and using the CRM owners v3 endpoints. So we're going to run a get CRM v3 owners, and that's going to give us back a JSON result. We can then use that JSON result to pass it to Excel, compare the entries in the Excel sheet to locate anything that is mismatched, and then start correcting those where necessary. To do this, I'm going to go back into HubSpot. I'm going to go to settings. Then under account settings, we have integrations, and under that we have API key. You may or may not already have an API key. I do in this instance. If you don't, it's simple enough to generate a new one. I am just going to show this one, reuse it, and then rotate it out when we're done here so that no one can get into this instance. To do that, I'm going to click show. I am not a robot, allegedly. And there is my API key. I can go ahead and click copy, go back to the developers.hubspot.com page, make sure I'm on the right endpoint, click test call. You can do this with an OAuth token or the API key. I'm going to do this with the API key, but you can read up on the differences between these. Paste the key in there and hit send. This is going to give me back a response that contains all the users that belong in this particular HubSpot instance, this particular portal. You'll notice that for this particular portal, our demo portal, all the users have a user ID assigned. Now, when we're looking at instances where users have been synced across or contact owners have been synced across from Salesforce, where it couldn't find a matched HubSpot user, there will be no user ID assigned to that. Let me show you this. So this is the output from that particular API call using a customer's instance, so using their API key. You can see that we have an ID here, we have the email address, first name, last name, and then you can see that the user ID for about half of these, it's about 3/4 of these, is filled in. But for the other ones, and you'll notice that those were created during a sync because they just happen to all be the same time, but for these other ones where there is no user ID, these are the ones where there is no matched user in HubSpot and where we need to go through and make sure that we get everything configured in such a way that we can get positive matches. In this instance, there were some users that legitimately did not exist in HubSpot. I can show you those examples. So if we look at security, user, and system, those did not exist in HubSpot and shouldn't. And it's unclear why they have actual information connected to those accounts. But in any case, for the other ones, the users did exist in HubSpot, but there was either a misspelling in the first name or last name of the user, or an abbreviation. So instead of saying John Smith, it would be John S. or J. Smith, something to that effect in the one system, and the other system would have the full name written out. Or they used a different email address between the two systems. So for instance, businesses that have multiple aliases available on email accounts, these users use different aliases for their same single account in order to create their HubSpot account versus creating their Salesforce account. And that caused some mismatches, causing the information to sync in this way. The solution is to go ahead and grab the output from this. You can use there's a couple of tools, you can Google those to convert these to Excel, compare them where duplicates exist, but where these are subtly different in name or surname or email address, etc. So where there are subtle differences between this and what is in Salesforce, you need to go ahead and make sure that those match. However you achieve that. So whether you alter the information in HubSpot to match Salesforce, you alter Salesforce to match HubSpot, or both if it turns out that there is in fact spelling mistakes on both sides, which is more common than you might think. Once that's been done, the Salesforce integration will run at some point, bring across those records. They should end up being matched. And at that point, anything that doesn't automatically get reassigned to the correct user can then be bulk edited by selecting those records, hitting edit, and changing the contact owner to the correct user. I would not do this particular step until you're sure that you have set up all the accounts correctly, because it can mess up some of your data because of the two-way force sync. So be careful with that mass reassignment, but once you have the user set up correctly, if this issue does not self-correct, you can go ahead and reassign the correct contact owners so that these individuals can see their records and work on them and get accurate reporting based on which records they own.